let's talk about these punishment reforms, really. The fact that basically Labour now are going to cancel, axe all sentences of less than a year. They say they're ineffective and there are more effective ways of punishing people for crime. That's rubbish. That's rubbish. You stick a middle-class person in jail for 6 months, they won't offend again, trust me. If they're a career criminal, you give them 9 months, water off a duck's back. I get that. But the idea that there is no use at all to sentences of less than a year, it's just not true. All of these reforms, what's it that the Justice Secretary ludicrously calls them? Prison outside of prison. You know, ankle tags, community service, unpaid work, banning from football matches, even if your crime's got nothing to do with football, banning or restricting your use of social media. All these punishments instead of prison are supposed to, you know, kind of revolutionise the way we treat people who break the law. But what they are actually is a charter for people who break the law. Lighter punishments for crime. This Labour government, unlike previous Labour governments, as Tony Blair said, tough on crime, tough on the causes of crime. Keir Starmer, soft on crime, soft on the causes of crime. Well, let's talk to former prison governor Vanessa Frake. Morning, Vanessa.
Morning, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, basically, all of these reforms that the Sentencing Review Council have come up with, they're a sort of disguise, aren't they, for the fact that Labour had to come up, the government had to come up with some sort of way of not sending people to prison because our prisons are so chronically overcrowded. This is a national crisis. We haven't got enough cells to put people in, right?
Well, I don't disagree with you at all, Kevin. You know, for years, this government, previous governments have negated their responsibilities to prisons and prisoners and prison staff. And we are where we are because ministers stood up in Parliament and said, we're going to lengthen sentences for this crime, lengthen sentences for that crime, and didn't put any infrastructure in place. No more prisons, no more cells, no more staff, and a clear lack of investment in our prisons. So the government was kind of caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. Because, you know, we can't have a justice system that completely breaks down where we can't put anybody in prison. Prison will always have a place in society for those that really warrant prison, those people that are put there to protect the public. And in doing that, you know, you say about the 12-month sentence. Well, they're not doing away with it completely. There will be exceptional circumstances to that.
Yeah, but I mean, that means very few people are going to get these sentences. And as I said earlier, you'll know this, Vanessa, if you put an old lag, a career criminal, in jail for 9 months, that is water off a duck's back. They couldn't care less. You put a middle-class person in jail for 9 months, they'll never forget. I mean, that will be a lesson learned on their part. So I'm not in favour of the abandoning of these sentences. But let's talk, if we can, Vanessa, about the very serious aspect of this kind of review of sentencing, and due to our overcrowded jails, they're talking about sentence reductions for good behaviour. Traditionally, that has been as much as half, but, you know, maybe a third. Now they're talking about sort of murderers and rapists potentially, for good behaviour, getting 2/3 of their sentences off. I mean, is this not just basically these people will end up getting inadequate punishments? You know, rapists will end up doing 2 years, that kind of thing. That can't be right, can it?
Well, I think you have to look at it a bit more in depth than just saying that. I think you have to remember that, you know, they have to work their way out. It's not a God-given right. And Shabina Mahmood was quite clear in her statement that those most serious offences will still do 2/3 of their sentence. And anybody convicted of terrorism offences will automatically not be included in that. it's a difficult one, and I understand that it's difficult for the public to see. But this report is to look at different ways of addressing reoffending behaviour. You know, we can't go on just locking people up ad infinitum for the pettiest of things when there are other opportunities and greater needs that can be done in the community, such as drug users, alcohol abusers, people with mental health issues. Yeah. You know, those are the things that need to be strengthened.
Yeah, enforced rehab, that's not a bad idea. That was one of the proposals for obviously drinkers and drug takers. So that I agree with that. Let me ask you this, Vanessa. When you were prison governor, how would you have felt personally about you know, medical people, doctors coming in and injecting your prisoners with chemicals? I'm talking about sex offenders. Mm-hmm. How would you have felt personally about that?
Well, medical sides and prison sides are two different things. Mm. Look, at the moment it's volunteers. I do think that I have reservations about making it mandatory because I'm not sure how you would deal with that within a prison environment. You know, the volunteer things, it's tablet form, and you have got to rely on those prisoners taking those drugs. If you don't take them, then it's going to be non-effective. So then you go into the realms of, well, what are you going to do? Hold people down and force it down their throat? You know, those are issues that would have to be like very carefully considered. Yeah. So I have reservations about making it mandatory. Of course, you know, they're sex offenders. Absolutely, they should be chemically castrated. But in reality, it's how you manage that.
Yeah, and another aspect of the prison system that I think the government needs to look at very, very seriously. They've got to do something about recruitment, maybe make, you know, I'm not normally in favour of increased pay packets in the public sector, but there's a staffing problem in terms of prison officers, isn't there? You have now got these vast prisons, many of which are little more than warehouses to hold people, and not enough staff. So they're on a tinderbox, aren't they? So do you think that one way to improve our creaking prison service would be somehow to recruit more officers, maybe give them better pay deals, and therefore make prisons far better run?
I think you have to go the whole hog here. I think you have to have better, more robust vetting procedures. I think you have to recruit more staff. You have to have better training. At the moment, training for a prison officer is 5 weeks. Well, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, that's the lowest.
5 weeks?
It's 5 weeks. And you can join at 18. So, you know, think about that, that you're putting somebody with no experience at 18 in a very vulnerable position. And I think that should, if you're going to look at recruiting more staff, then you have to go the whole hog all the way through, and you have to continue that training through it. Because at the moment we're short of staff, yes, absolutely. So prisoners are being locked in their cells for 23 hours a day. They're not going to education. 80% of prisoners can't read and write. We know that's afflicted to repeat offending. You know, they're not going to programs to help them with their rehabilitation. And that is why we have the worst reoffending statistics in Western Europe. So, you know, there are many facets to the prison service, and you can't cure one right doesn't cure all. Yeah. It is right the way through, right across the board.
Absolutely, Vanessa. There's still a lot of work to be done on our prison system and our punishment system. Very good to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. That was Vanessa Frake, former prison governor.